welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you so much for
And
having me. I'm delighted.
yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's get straight to it.
Okay.
I'm going to allow you introduce yourself. I
Okay.
know that you have a very interesting profile, but
Mm.
myself, so I don't do injustice to it. All right.
Okay, that's fine.
This welcome to everyone. Just before I allow our guest, special guest today, introduce herself very briefly. This is the Wave Speaker Series, and this series has been put together for everyone, every young person who is trying to get answers, who's trying to get clarity, especially now, considering the different circumstances that we find ourselves in. So over to you. A short introduction, and
Okay.
then we'll take it from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Asarume. I'm delighted to be here with you. So, quick intro or bio about myself. I'm Bukola Arowosafe. I'm a condom blow chef, restaurant consultant, and food writer. Um, my journey into food and hospitality, I think, started many years ago. I always tell people I think my mom cooked a lot when she was pregnant with me because I just have this amazing relationship with food.
Wow.
So after my first degree, I went on to study a culinary course in the UK, got my condom blow diploma, came back here, worked as a hospitality consultant with W Hospitality in Lagos. And then I went back, did my master's, and then came back home because I just felt like there's a lot of opportunity regarding hospitality and food here in Nigeria as opposed to anywhere else where it's more of an advanced industry and you're not really able to contribute towards the development of that industry. So I came back home, worked for a bit, and then in 2015 I started Guava Culinary Concepts Limited, which we've now rebranded to Guava House Hospitality. So it started off as a catering company. We did a couple of corporate and social events. And then as time sort of, went by, as the company grew, we realized that a lot of restaurants were springing up in Lagos. The food and beverage in Lagos became more exciting, more vibrant, and we felt we could come in as restaurant consultants, to offer services in the like of menu engineering, concept creation, staffing recruitment. So we're now a food development and restaurant consultancy firm. So yes, so I
Okay.
think that's that's it in a nutshell. Yes.
Awesome. 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 All right. Thank you, Bukola, for that.
Thank you.
And I know you were quite modest in that introduction, but I know some people may have,
Because of time,
some
yes.
people some people may have heard you say cordon bleu, and
Yes.
maybe wondering, what exactly does this mean? So for some of the people who are joining us who may not
Yes.
understand the term, could you break it down for us so that we understand
Okay.
what it
All
means?
right. So cordon bleu means blue ribbon in French, and it's
Okay.
basically the height or the level of training and certification you get as a chef. So it's the training that sort of exposes you to the highest quality of cooking. You're classically trained in the French techniques. So yeah, so that's it. So it's a certification. It's a blue ribbon certification you get as a chef.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. So you heard it, people. It's a blue ribbon certification, and you know that that's very exquisite, right there.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
we have somebody in the house who knows what she's going to be talking about over the next few minutes. So make sure you call everyone that you could call, and get on this, and we can. Somebody says, spell it. It's Cordon. BL,
BLEEU.
great. BLEU. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Food and beverage. A lot of people, I mean, also known as F&B. A lot of people see hospitality industry as just one thing. Some people think hospitality is every time I go into a restaurant, it's hospitality. They don't see the different parts and the different aspects. Where does food and beverage sit in the scheme of things in the hospitality space? And how critical is food and beverage to hospitality or the hospitality industry?
Okay, thank you, Osirime. for me, food and beverage or F&B is the soul, is the engine for any hospitality operation. I think it's the glue, as it were. If you think about hospitality, whether it's aviation, whether it's tourism, whether it's hotel, food is always at the core, of the operation. So I think hospitality in the bigger picture is centered around, food and beverage offering.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So I mean, you talked about how critical it is to hospitality. It's almost like it drives every other thing in
Absolutely, yes.
hospitality. It's the life is the lifeline of the hospitality industry. You know, we see and we hear food and beverage. A lot of people say, "Oh, look, I'd like to work." Young people who are looking and saying, "I'd like to work in the F&B, the food and beverage arm or aspect of hospitality. What do I need? What should I be paying attention to if I wanted to pursue a career? Or I mean, what does it look like? I mean, you have experience working in this sector. What has that been for you over the years, and what opportunities do you think exist for young people who are looking for some sort of employment?
Okay. So F&B, it's a very hospitality in general. I think it's a calling. You need to have a passion for service. You need
Oh,
to have a passion
hang on,
for.
Bukola, hang on there.
Okay.
Allow me to interrupt. Please say what you said
Okay,
again.
please.
I think there's a need for emphasis on what you said.
Oh, right.
You
Okay.
said something very, very strong. Please
Yes.
emphasize. Please emphasize.
Okay, so I said hospitality is a calling, just like how you have religious leaders or your pastors or your imams or your priests. It's a calling. It's a calling, to serve. It's about passion. That's what hospitality is built on. So if you're getting into the food and beverage space, the number one thing you need to have is to have a passion for service.
Mm,
Because over the years, and in my experience, whether I've worked abroad or whether I've worked here, it's not the most lucrative industry. It's
mm,
not oil and gas, or it's not any
yeah,
of those, really, really,
yeah,
high paying sectors.
yeah,
People go into that industry because there's a passion and there's a willingness to, to serve. So for me,
yeah.
that's really, really critical, and that's really, really fundamental. And it's an exciting industry. It's constantly evolving. It's
Mm,
vibrant. Even given the times that we're in now, operating under this coronavirus pandemic, the food business seems to be thriving as opposed to other sectors that have been crushed, or they've come under the weight of the pandemic. And even if you strip it down to the basic or to the core, food is one of the three basic needs of man. So no matter how
absolutely,
bad a
absolutely,
situation gets, people are still going to eat. People will still want food on their tables.
absolutely.
So getting into the food industry, it is the most critical. It is a highly sought after industry, and it can be lucrative as well, depending on what your product is, and how you position yourself, vis-a-vis your competition.
Mm,
Okay. So getting into food and beverage, I think the most important thing is for you to you love to cook. I tell people, I love cooking. I'm passionate about food. I write, but passion isn't enough.
mm.
Passion is like you have two cars. What's the fastest car in the world? I think it's the Lamborghini V5, or I don't know. You compare that to a regular saloon car.
Yeah.
So passion is the fuel you put in both cars.
Mm.
But you take a sports car and a normal car, the miles per hour both cars can go varies.
Yes.
So fuel will get you from point A to point B.
Point
But
B.
how far you go and how well you succeed,
Yes.
it's going to need more than passion.
Mm.
You're going to have to call in your skill. You're going to have to bring in some level of expertise. You
Mm.
have to bring in the product you're also serving. How useful is it? Because
Mm.
oftentimes, as entrepreneurs or as creatives, we have all these vivid imaginations, and we get carried away with all this. Oh, this will look so good, but
Yeah.
does the market need it?
Mm.
Do people really need it? Do people really want what you're offering? So I think it's important, if you're getting into the F&B space, to first and foremost understand the different sectors. So do
Mm.
you want to work in a hotel as a chef, or do you want to have a home kitchen business where you cook from home and then you have the meals delivered to your customers? Do you want to go into consultancy, which is what we're doing now? Or do you want to work in F&B as a wait staff, so as a waiter or as a waitress? Do you want to work as a sommelier? Do you want to work as a barista? Do you want to be a maitre d'? So there are so many areas, under F&B that one could go into. So I think the first thing after passion comes research. So you need to research what area of the industry do you want to go into, because I believe knowledge is key.
Yes.
Without knowledge, you're just flying in the dark, as it were. So, research is very, very important to understand the markets, to understand the business of F&B, and to see how you can apply yourself. After research, you've identified the area you want to go into. The next thing is now skill acquisition.
All right.
Fine,
All right.
you know how to throw things in a pot. You know how to put this and this, and it comes out okay. It's okay when you're serving, your family or your friends, but when you want to go into business,
Yes.
you're going to need more than that. You need to get a certain level of knowledge. You need to acquire the right skills. You need to train as a chef, and not just the culinary aspects of it. There also needs to be an understanding of the business of the food business, because
Understanding
sometimes I
of
find
the
of the
business
business of
of the
food
food
business.
business.
business. So that's the money talking now.
So
So the
you need
numbers
so to be able to thrive, you need to understand the business
of food
of
business.
food business.
Business. So it's not just you can cook. It's also how can you make your cooking profitable?
All
How can
right.
you go from passion to portfolio?
All right.
You need to know numbers. You need to know, oh, I need to sell a certain amount of this to
All right.
make this. And that's what you also find with a lot of people. They know the art, but not
Yeah.
so much the business of
The
it.
business.
So if you feel like you want to focus on mastering your art or your craft, then it's important to get in someone that all they see is numbers and all
Yeah.
you see is pots.
Yes.
Because that's very, very important for the
Yes.
business to thrive. But
Yes.
with that said, even if you're bringing in someone to join you as a business manager or your business consultant, you also need to understand or have a certain knowledge of the basics. So you
All
need
right.
to know basic accounting, basic marketing, basic strategy, so that, in as much as you are mastering your skill as a chef, you also know all these other elements that are important for your business to thrive. So that's where research comes in. So research and skill acquisition. And then after you've done that, you now decide, okay, this is the area I want to operate in. Now, looking at the times we're in, operating on the coronavirus pandemic, I don't think anybody is rushing out to go build a physical restaurant now.
Yes.
I don't think everybody is sitting back, and so there's no brick and mortar plan in place. Everybody is
Yeah.
sort of sitting back and strategizing and saying, okay, how best can they work with the new reality? So I think that's
Yeah.
also something one needs to be considered, because things is not business as usual. A lot has changed, over this past, couple of months. And I
Yeah.
know from a trend point of view, there's a lot going on in virtual kitchens or dark kitchens. So dark kitchens is basically, you have an empty space or a warehouse, and then you convert that into a state-of-the-art kitchen. And from that one kitchen, you're able to do multiple cuisines or multiple food brands or concepts. And then this is now linked to a food delivery or a food dispatch or a food logistics company. So your virtual kitchen is listed on their app, so people can go straight to that app and then they can order. So just like what you have with Jumia and Bolt Food, where you have all these restaurants, listed on those apps. But the difference between a virtual kitchen and you running a standard home kitchen is, from that one kitchen, you could have different companies operating under one kitchen. So you can have someone that they do shawarma, you can have another person that into salads, another person is into making amala, and you're all coming together, pulling your resources together, operating under one kitchen. So that's a big trend, that is ongoing now. And then if you feel like, okay, you're not so much of a chef, you don't like cooking, that's a problem. Over the years, I think my biggest challenge as because my company also delivers salads. We do salads, the best in Lagos, by the way. We do salads, and we offer some other healthy meal options. And my kitchen is all the way in VGC. And my
Okay.
customers are
Okay.
all mostly on the islands. So I'm talking about VI, Ikoyi, Lekki one.
Yeah.
And delivery has been such a huge problem. Like
Mm,
you would order, a customer will order something, the dispatch driver gets here probably is 30 minutes late, it picks up the item, there's
mm,
traffic, or it goes to an office. So there's a lot of problem before the salad gets to the customer, before the products. Sometimes I fear because this is salad. I don't
yeah.
want my lettuce to not get done. It's looking like a forero because it's wilted under all the, up
Yeah.
and down that the dispatch
Mm,
company has been through. So
yeah.
if you feel, so that's also another opportunity, and I see lots of that happening, outside of the country. Lots of, companies are going into delivery logistics purposely for F&B.
Mm, mm.
So these are dedicated delivery companies. So these are not companies that will pick up food, they will pick up parcel, they will pick up
Mm,
clothing. They are
yeah.
purpose set up dedicated to F&B. So
Yeah.
that's also another area that one could explore. So if you're not so much of a chef or if you're not so much into cooking, you
Yes.
can also operate in the food and beverage space
Yeah.
as a solution provider. So you're providing
Logistics.
logistics. You're
Yeah.
making,
Yeah.
delivery of food from kitchen to the customer. You're providing that ease for, for the food provider. So
Yeah.
that's also another area one could, go into. I know presently, I think there are about three companies, Jumia, and I think there's also Bolt Food. I think Bolt Food started recently, I think about 3 months ago. So these are companies that are being set up now in response to, what is going on. So
Going on.
those are
Yeah.
two areas that I feel anybody that wants to go into food now should look into. So
All
either
right.
to be a solution provider in
All
terms of
right.
logistics, or setting up, a virtual kitchen or a dark kitchen. So you could just have like a couple of your friends come together, you guys rent a space, and then out of that space you're delivering, different sort of food brands to appeal to different tastes.
Mm.
So yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Wow, thank you so much, Bukola. That has been an,
Thank you.
I think that's been an expose on food and beverage, and I like how you started it from the position of an interested stakeholder, so somebody who wanted to come into that space or who wants to come into the space as an operator or as a provider, a service provider. And you talked about, look, don't passion for service is critical. I think you started by
Absolutely.
saying that the passion for service is important. If you're going into hospitality, if you're going to focus on food and beverage, passion for service is important. You
Exactly.
also talked about, the passion for cooking. You also said, look, you have to love to cook. If you're going to be in food and beverage, you have to love how to cook. You have to develop an interest, for cooking. You also mentioned that you have to move from passion to portfolio because passion is not in itself
Enough.
sufficient. Now,
Absolutely.
you mentioned, that a lot of people go into food and beverage as a business without understanding the business of the food business, right? And so you had said that to be able to understand that, it's critical that people invest in research. People do their
Absolutely.
background, they do their due
Absolutely.
diligence, understand the industry, understand the different aspects. What kind of meals do you want to focus on? What kind of cuisine? What is required. Don't just jump
Yes.
into it. And then you talked
Absolutely.
about how, there are options now. You might not, you might not have a restaurant operating anymore as much. And so you could set up dark kitchens or virtual kitchens. You talk about how you could come together and leverage the different skill sets of people,
Absolutely.
whether they're friends, family, or, you could leverage the skill set of those people. You also talked about the fact that you don't need to restrict yourself to just cooking skills. You need to also get grounded at the
Absolutely.
basic level, the fundamentals
Mental.
of finance, the fundamentals
Yes.
of
Very
business,
important.
business
Yeah.
operation, because you need to get to a place where you're understanding the business of the
Business.
food
The food
business. I love
business.
that.
Absolutely.
Understand the business of the food business.
Yes.
Now, having said that, and I see somebody saying mind blowing. Having said that, Bukola, when we
Yes.
look at it from a place now, you are an employer, and you own you own Guava Culinary Concepts, and that's your business. You've been doing that for a
Yes.
while. Uh, but as an employer, I would like you to speak as an employer to somebody who may be watching, who is who's trying to get into the space, to work, to build a
Okay.
career, to build experience, to build competence. We've talked about the skills that are required. We've talked about research. We talked about, learn, be open to learning. We've talked about the importance of going into other coordinate skills,
Yes.
business, accounting. I mean, just the basics. You don't have to go in
The
great
basics,
detail.
yes.
But for
Absolutely.
an employee or for somebody who is a job seeker, what are the things that I need to start focusing on? Are there critical things I need to start focusing on now as somebody who's trying to get into the space? And then I think the second part of the question would be for those people who have been working in the space and for one reason or the other, we talked about COVID and the effect of COVID, have lost their jobs. Um, no fault of theirs, but the situation, some businesses couldn't survive. And so they've lost their jobs. They're now back to the unemployment space. What are the things that you'll be telling them?
Okay. I think first and foremost, with the crisis or with the pandemic, it's important for people to focus on what they lose out on or what they've lost. The
Okay.
focus should be on what you can gain. So
Okay.
what have you learned during this period? I think for me, I would start with myself. I know within when the situation started and when the lockdown was put in place, for me it was a time to do a lot of writing and research.
Mm.
I mean, in that period, I've been able to build my own website using Wix. In
Wow.
that period, I've published the first edition of Food and Beverage Lagos. It's a newsletter. I've also published the first homegrown cookbook. So I think
Right.
it's important people should use this period as a time to learn, to discover themselves, to get a new skill, as it were. So if you're looking to get into food and beverage today, the question is, why do you want to? You need to understand it's not a case of, oh, this person is working as a chef or this person is working as a waiter. Okay, and people, hospitality is one of the easiest industries to get into in this country. Not needing a lot of skill or educational, qualification.
Okay.
People come from, and then the next thing they're a waiter, they're a waitress. So it's an easy industry to get into. And that in itself poses a problem of professionalism. Because
Mm.
you have people in the industry that are not necessarily professionals.
Professionals.
They are
Mm.
not ready to invest in themselves in terms of becoming professionals. They just see it as, let me share, I'll be doing something, let me share, have a job.
Okay.
Hospitality doesn't work like that. People that are going to hospitality, it's a lifelong career. So
Mm.
I think the question is, why do you want to get into hospitality, or why do you want to get into F&B? The first question is it because you're looking for a way out of your a present condition,
Okay.
or is it because you have a passion? Like I mentioned, passion is always key. Is it
Yeah.
because you have a passion to want to be in food and beverage? So I think
Okay.
once you've answered those fundamental questions, then we can now take it from there. What skills do you have? As
Okay.
an employee, what do you bring to the table? What
Okay.
can you offer me as an employer? How have you invested in yourself? What training have you gotten over the years?
Mm.
And people always say, I will not be able to go to school because I don't have. Google is your best friend. I know there are free trainings everywhere.
Mm.
And that also brings to the question of passion and dedication. Because if you really want to be in something, you want to know 100% and more about that thing. So
Yes.
it's important for you to tell your employer, okay, these are the skills I have. This is what I bring to the table. I'm able to do this and this and this. And if you feel like you want to be in the industry but you have zero skills, then this is the
Mm.
time for you to learn. You should not even be thinking employment. It should be a
Mm.
time for you to be learning and gaining knowledge, whether
Mm.
it's free, whether it's paid. There are resources out there for you to take advantage of this period. I think, was it not, when did we check? I think it was last week. And I
Yeah.
told you about a site, Ask Tipsy.
Yeah.
It's an online hospitality training course or provider. On a good day, they charge about $100, I think, per month or so for their trainings. But because of this COVID, they've decided to make it free. And trust me, the day I heard, I jumped on it and I registered.
Yeah,
So I think this is the time. So if you have nothing to
great
offer me
deal.
as an employee, then you need to start, you need to start from ground zero. That is learning the required skill or what
Yes.
it takes to operate in F&B. And if you feel
Mm.
like you already have the skill set, you've already worked as a waiter somewhere, you've already worked as a chef, and you feel like, okay, I need to go further, then you also still need to sit down and say, okay, what can I add on to those skills? And then the
Yeah.
skill set that you're getting has to be relevant to our present reality. You
Mm.
need to be employable with those skill sets. You don't want to go and be learning something that is obsolete or people are not demanding for. I mean,
Mm.
online social media, online marketing, storytelling, all of that is also relevant when it comes to F&B. So that's also another area you can think, I can actually, learn, or I could actually gain a skill, when it comes to online media management for a food
Mm.
brand, or I can help them with their social media platforms. I can help them make it more interesting. I can create like a really, really exciting,
Mm. Yeah.
storytelling platform that customers can actually engage with those brands. So those are skills, I feel are going to be very, very, very practical today and years to come. And
Awesome.
then when it comes to the cooking part of it, like I said, if cooking is your thing, there are Lagos people will want food. And I don't see anybody, even once they say, restaurants are free to open or you book an go. I don't see anybody jumping to go and sit down in any restaurants immediately. It's going to take a while for people to have that confidence of, they are safe enough to go sit down. Even if the restaurant puts in all the measures, they do this, they tell you, this place is safe, or you guys can come in. It will take a while for customers or diners, as it were, to
Mm.
have that sense of assurance that, okay, I can actually go out, and have a meal here and I'm safe. So for
Yes.
the next, I think till the end of the year and probably into the new year, a lot of people are still going to be ordering food.
Good.
People are still going to be ordering food. I know there are caterers that I know that are used to doing O1 bears. They do parties of 500, 600 people. Now, they're offering bowls of egusi soup,
Mm.
bowls of peppered snail. They're
Yeah.
doing delivery services. So that's the thing. So if you're a cook now or you're a chef and you've been out of work, then if you have a kitchen, you have the tools to cook. Start your own small food delivery business. You first of all market to your family and friends, people that you know. And trust me, if your product is good, the
Yes.
word will spread.
Yes.
But one thing I will also tell people is you need to be consistent.
Mm.
Standardization is very, very important. Oftentimes, we do this thing where we eyeball everything and just put one Maggi and put this one. You need to be very, very professional about this thing. So you need to
Mm.
operate, in a standardized environment. So your
Yeah.
recipes need to be standardized, your
Okay.
operations need to be standardized. So even if you're not there,
Mm.
anybody that is coming in already has like a laid, SOP to follow, from
Follow.
preparation of meals to
Mm.
packaging of the meals to actually, delivery of the meals. So
Mm.
that's very, very important. For
Important.
me, in a nutshell, everything goes down to research. Go
Mm.
online, ask questions, call for people that have been out of work, even call your former bosses or your employers and ask them, okay, so what plans do you have for the business? Not even talking about yourself now. Ask your boss. So what's the plan for this hotel now? What are you, putting in place? So that also makes you sort of like you care, because
Yes.
oftentimes employees don't care. They don't feel that, and it's not their fault.
Mm.
Employers don't give employees a sense of ownership. For them,
Honest.
it's just a paid ticket. It's just a meal
Yeah.
ticket. Sorry, it's just at the end of the month I collect my salary and I go. So
Yeah.
they don't feel that sort of, this company is also mine. I'm going to, because if that's in place, a lot of employees would actually want to know, what plans, the
Yes.
hotel or restaurant has in place
Really.
for,
I mean,
for them, once they
yes.
open or if they do open. So I think
Yes.
that's also. So I think information is key, and see how you can apply yourselves. And if there's an opportunity that you feel you can tap into, if you have the skill sets already, then jump in it. If you do not have, then this is a good time for you to learn and acquire those skills necessary.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
oftentimes it's not money. There are lots of free courses, out
Mm.
there. Just Google. There are so many
Yeah, yeah.
resources that you can have for free.
Amazing. And Bukola, I'll just ask, the sites you had mentioned earlier. Um, so it was just so that
Okay, ask Tipsy. So it's
Tipsy.
AskTypsy. Yes, Tipsy as in
Okay.
you get tipsy. So ask Tipsy.
Okay. All right. So I mean that's there. We've put it up for our viewers. Please,
Okay.
go to Ask Tipsy, Google it. Bukola has recommended it. It's a good site. You can learn a lot, and it's free now because of COVID. I mean, it's so
Till
interesting now
September.
how a lot of. I mean, some time ago, a cousin sent me a message on WhatsApp and said, this is a course that was going for $250, and now it's going free. And I was like,
Can you
unbelievable.
imagine?
So you point around taking advantage of those
Advantage.
opportunities now is critical. So
Yes.
if you're on this
Very.
Instagram live and you're a young person, you're trying to get into the industry again, maybe because you lost your job, or you were just planning to get into the industry before COVID hit. One thing that Bukola is telling us is that you need to research, you need to take advantage of the opportunities, develop yourself, invest in yourself,
Sure.
invest time
Absolutely.
in yourself. Okay. And there are some courses that are not, you don't have to pay. So for
Pay
people who might be
anything.
saying,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have enough money to afford a course, I can't do this, I can't do that. There are free courses. So invest in yourself. Try to get as much data as you can. Try to get the support that you can around you, because you really want this. Again, you have to be able to show if you really want something, you really go for it. You really drive at it. And,
Absolutely.
I'm sure they usually say that the universe just also conspires.
Absolutely.
Once you have made up your mind that
Absolutely.
this is what you
Mine.
want, it conspires to send you the support that you require and all of that. So
Yeah.
definitely take advantage of that. Ask Tipsy is a
Tipsy.
good opportunity. Go on there and go and learn. So one thing you also said, Bukola,
Yeah.
in terms of the skills is be professional. A lot of times,
Very.
people get into hospitality and they feel, Shebi, I'm just supposed to serve the client or the guest, or I'm supposed to just
Yes.
do this. This is my job description. This is what they said I should do. This is the time for you to set yourself apart. This is the time for you to really be professional. Okay, be professional about everything you do, your interaction, the quality of your service. You talked about the fact that you have to be standardizing what you're doing. So you
Absolutely.
organizational skills. So I like how you mentioned some parts of soft skills, and then you talk about the harder skills. So the technical ones being know how to cook, learn how to cook, understand the different meals, different cuisine. But then the softer skill, which is understanding the business of it, be organized,
Yes.
standardize your everything that you do, your processes, be professional, in your interaction with people, the way you speak to people, the way you carry yourself, your composure, professional. Don't
Absolutely.
just do it because it's a job.
Because
And
yes.
yes, you might say, like Nicola said, some employers don't create an environment where the people that work with them have the sense of ownership. But
Ship.
don't wait for your employer to do that. You create a sense of. I know it can be challenging sometimes because they say
Very.
it's not my father's business, or it's not my mother that owns the
Exactly.
business.
I
But
wonder.
these are the times that we need to distinguish ourselves. Like Bukola has
Selves.
said, it's not
Fantastic.
business as usual. So we must invest in ourselves. We must be able to develop organizational skills. We must be professional in our approach. We must research. And I think, Bukola, this is the next. You talked about storytelling. People could actually write for F&B brands, food and beverage brands at this time. You
Absolutely.
could manage their social media accounts. You could do,
Absolutely.
digital, marketing. And we had a session a few days ago on digital marketing. So it's all coming together. These are different pieces that are coming together.
Together. Yes.
Having said that, all of these things are critical. All of these things are important. Now, going forward in the next few years, in the next few months, how is this space going to change? I mean, somebody was saying, look, in terms of people, the work hours, sometimes we've had people who've been placed. I mean, because we usually placed unemployed youth on jobs, entry level roles in hospitality and other high growth industries. And so in the past, we've had some people say, oh, the work hours are too much. The transportation, I'm closing late and all of that. I mean, it's highly demanding. As COVID has hit going forward, what are some of the adjustments that both employers and employees will need to make in terms of achieving success in the next few months? What are the adjustments that employers need to make in terms of the way they manage their teams, their staff? And then what are the adjustments that their staff also need to be making going forward um, in the next few months?
Okay. I think for me, the key word here is innovation. So it's a case of it's either you come up with something innovative, creative that is able to adapt to our present reality, or that's it, you're done. So that's really important. I think for restaurants, I know there's a client I'm working with, and they've had to like press pause on their plans to actually, set up a brick and mortar space. So they are now working on towards going into delivery fast. So, and that's in a way they're changing their plans. So I think you cannot afford to be rigid. You can't bring out the old manuals or the old way of operating now. It's not going to work. It won't be applicable. So I think everybody needs to sit down, from employer to HR to, if there's a union, there needs to be some sort of forum where there's ideas are being bounced off. So from your experience, how do you think we can do this better? What do you think, the industry needs? So this is not even a time of, we are very good at this, so we're able to do. Does the present reality require that thing? Your customers now, with the fear of corona, with the fear of this and that, do they actually require those services? It's now about what people need. It's no longer build it and they will come. It's now, what do people need, and how can we adjust and adapt to actually provide them.
Demand driven.
Exactly. So it can't just be you're building restaurants, you're doing this, or you're setting up small chops. No, not even small chops. Everybody loves small chops, so that's not a good example. You're setting up some, you're setting up some fancy concept because, oh gosh, it's fancy. Oh, people are gonna be. No, nobody is doing that anymore. So right now it's really, and people are even more in terms of spending. People don't have that kind of cash anymore. People are getting pay cuts. People are getting 30% of their salaries, 50% of their salaries. So any money that comes out now in terms of disposable income, the person is actually sitting down to think about it critically. Do I really need to spend this money?
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you're offering people, it needs to be compelling. It needs to convince them that they need this. So it's almost like stripping all of those fancy things and go down to the basic of food. Right now is for sustenance, it's for nourishment, and you're consistent on that, whether it's the quality or whether it be the taste, whether it be the package. You're consistent on delivering that. That should be number one priority now. People are not having weddings and all of those glamorous things, events where people are coming up with all sort of funny, interesting concepts. Nobody has time for that. Not even time. Nobody has the money for that right now. So any restaurant or F&B operator needs to sit down with his or her team, come up, and this is not it should be an enabling environment for people to be able to share their ideas and their experience.
Yes.
And come up with something that people really, really need at this time. And like I said, food, you can't go wrong with food, because no matter how bad it gets, people still need to eat to survive. It's man's basic need. And then on the issue of long hours and tipping and all of that, I think it's just I don't think it's peculiar to hospitality alone. I think it's just the way we conduct business here. Employers can be they're not compassionate. They oftentimes see employees as, they're just there, They are just there to drive your business. You don't care if they're taken care of. You don't, and for me, that also ties down to professionalism. So if the person at the top is not professional enough, that is not going to trickle down to HR, because Oga at the top doesn't send, so why should HR be bothered? But
Mm.
if the Oga at the top sends how his employees are being treated, all
Mm.
of that is, so there's a culture aspect to this as well.
To this, yeah, yeah.
To this. So what's the work culture in that place like? Is
That,
it a company where there's regard for for people's health, for people's working conditions? A lot of
okay.
employers, and they don't care. And
Mm.
HR, and I think it's also down to HR as well, because they say it's human relations, but no, it's no longer. It should be human management. How do you manage the people that work with you?
Mm. Mm.
So
Mm.
they treat employees anyhow, because if one person steps out, they go back into their office. There are 100 CVs ready to take
Ready to
that
come
person's.
in. Okay. Okay. So
So
it's like
that doesn't even. So there's no care. There's no compassion.
there's
There's
10
no
people, 10 more
dignity
people waiting for your role, for your job. So if
at
you want to
all.
leave, leave.
So it's a vicious cycle. So the employers are treating the employees badly. Employees still don't feel committed to the job. It's just
Mm.
if this one doesn't work out, if another restaurant opens down the road or another hotel, I'm going to go there. So there's no loyalty, and you can't demand loyalty if employees don't feel a sense of ownership, of something.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
think that would need to be, and I think that's an ongoing discussion in the industry, how to have
Yeah.
better, human management or your human workforce management. That's an ongoing discussion. I don't know
Discussion.
when. I know there are many solutions on the table. We've had conferences and seminars on this, but
Yeah.
as usual, implementation is is always a problem with us. We know what to do, but we just never get around to doing it. So we're hopeful
Doing
that things will change, and I hope this corona situation is going to actually it's going to make people, sit down and do, the needful things.
awesome.
So yeah,
Awesome.
and I know let me just say that there's a quote that I really like.
Mm.
It's the Ritz-Carlton motto. So it's, we are ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
serving ladies and gentlemen. And for
Wow.
me, that
Wow.
just sums up professionalism and
Wow.
taking
Wow.
pride and dignity in your work. When
Wow.
I was doing my masters, I worked as a kitchen assistant.
Mm.
I washed plates, I cleaned floors. I
Mm.
went through the whole, from bottom, to middle, and we're all aiming for the top.
Yes.
So I know what it feels like to be at a certain level working in the industry. So because of that knowledge, if
Mm.
I bring in somebody, I'm not going to treat them, because I know what it feels like.
Yes.
So oftentimes
Mm. Mm.
employers they detach themselves, and you need to
Oh.
understand that these are the people you need to actually run your business, actually make that money.
Mm.
And then if you have a high staff
Wow.
turnover, it
Wow.
looks bad on you, because
Wow.
you waste money on training.
Wow.
Secondly, you're not able to build a standard process of doing things, because you're constantly changing people.
Yeah.
Successful businesses, successful brands, if you go there, you look at their HR practices, you look at their workforce, there are people that have been working there for years,
Mm.
because they've been able to make those people happy, to make sure that those standards are constantly being pursued, or followed rather. So I think
Fantastic.
that's really important.
Fantastic. I mean, very interesting. You've done some consulting free of charge, for
I Oh,
businesses.
I'll be sending my bill, don't worry.
You've done free consulting for businesses who are on here, and also, young
Oh my
people who are
goodness.
on here. And I think, just Oga Maestro has put a comment. We are ladies and
And
gentlemen.
gentlemen, serving
Serving
ladies,
ladies and
ladies and
gentlemen. I
gentlemen,
think
yes.
I think that sums, like you rightly said, that sums it up. But I also like something you mentioned as we begin to conclude, Bukola. I
Yeah.
like something you mentioned, which was, you started from, you went up the ranks, you spent years building yourself.
Yes.
That suggests that there is a career pathway, Bukola.
Absolutely.
There is a career pathway. Now, for somebody who is saying to myself, I mean, remember, some people were going to school then and they would like hear things like, oh, to become a doctor, you have to go to school for 7 years, university and all of that, or whatever.
Yeah.
People said, no, 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 no. I actually didn't understand the gravity, but now that I understand what's required, I'll look for
Oh,
a career. But when you look at your experience and just engaging in the industry over the years, what is the timeline, for somebody to be able to build a career in the space, and what really does the peak of that career look like? Because I look at you as somebody who started, the very bottom of the business, so to speak. And with hard work, with consistency, you have been able to
Yeah.
now running your own business, and doing consulting and hiring other people. So what's the timeline for that?
I think with this, I don't want to use my, because I believe we're talking to like younger people, this
Younger
present
people, yes,
generation.
yes.
So I think entrepreneurship might be a better way to go, as opposed to, how will I put it? Unless you get a really, really good hospitality F&B company that there's a clear career growth path.
Mm,
Because oftentimes it's not clear.
okay.
You get in there and you're on a job for a year, 2 years, and it's like
Yeah,
you're not being promoted, you're not moving up.
yeah.
But with entrepreneurship, you can actually plan or map out or design your own career path. And
Mm,
the resources for you to do that is out there. So
okay,
you just
okay,
set milestones for yourself. Oh, I'm going to start because I started as a catering company and now I'm now into consultancy.
okay,
And for me,
okay,
the reason why I went from catering, I mean, I still do private dining, not more than 20 people. But the
okay.
reason why I went into consultancy, it for me was as a response to the evolving F&B scene in Lagos. More people
Okay.
were building restaurants, and I
Yeah.
go in there and I have a meal, and I'm not too impressed with the food, I'm not too impressed with the service, and I felt like, okay, people are now taking hospitality seriously. They need to have someone to tell them how to do these things better.
Yeah.
And that's why I just felt like consultancy for me
Awesome.
is the next play or is the next move.
All
And
right.
that allowed me, because I'm an entrepreneur, I work for myself.
Okay.
But if you're not going the entrepreneurship route, if you're
Right.
working for a restaurant chain or hotel chain, you need to know what the career path for that restaurant or hotel is. You need to, from your first day of employment, you need
Mm.
to know, okay, so what is the career progression path like in this business? So if I'm working as a waiter today,
Yeah.
what do I need to do? Or what's the
Yes. What
next
what
level of
plans do you have?
training or whatever I require to get into a restaurant supervisor, from a
Yeah.
restaurant supervisor to becoming a restaurant manager, from a restaurant manager to becoming the F&B director,
Yeah.
all of that. So if you're, and for me, that also comes with dedication and passion.
Yes.
Because if you're not staying in a place long enough, there's no way for you to achieve all of that.
Yes.
And then that
Absolutely.
also you also need to know what. So if it's a hotel chain, you need to know what that. And a lot of us don't do that. We go looking for jobs. The your employer researches you, but
That.
you don't research them, so to speak. So you
Yeah.
get there and they are firing you all these questions left, right, center, and then they not ask you, do you have any questions for us? And you're like, no. That doesn't. For me, that doesn't. No,
Yeah.
I want to know. Okay, so I'm coming in as a. So, what's the career path for me like?
Back
What
for
are my
me.
chances of? Because I would like to work for your company, and I feel like I bring this and this to the table, and I just don't want to come in as just a waiter. I want to one day, scale up and become
Yes.
this and become this, and I want to
Absolutely.
grow with your company. I want to grow with your brand.
Absolutely.
So I think that's how we also need to be as employees. You don't need to be timid. If you're
Yeah.
convinced in your skill and you know what
Tell
you have to
tell it.
offer, you'll be
What
more
you think.
demanding in what you're
Yes.
getting,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
everything boils down to, what do you have to offer me?
What do you have to offer?
So that's why it's important to really develop yourself. I think for me, that's staying employable right now. I think equates to developing yourself and
Developing
acquiring
yourself.
those
Awesome.
relevant skills. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How time flies.
I
Bukola.
know.
Um,
It
I,
has really.
I mean, people who are here can follow you at Guava Cookhouse, right?
Cookhouse, yes.
At Guava Cookhouse. So
Yes.
if you want to hear more from Bukola, Bukola is an amazing friend of Wave. I mean, we're having a very interesting chat a few days ago.
I go way
Please
back.
follow, yeah, so please follow at Guava Cookhouse, and you can get more information on the work that Bukola does. Wave Academies, we've pinned the subject of today's discussion, and it's been an amazing, amazing time with Bukola, who runs her own outfit, consulting outfit in the food and beverage space. And we've learned so much. I have learned so much. He has shared some resources. He's told us,
Yes.
look, start with passion for service. Understand that hospitality is a calling. Very, very important. It is a calling. You are called to serve. When you're going into hospitality, when you're going into the business, understand the business of the food business. It's not sufficient to just have the hard skill, the technical skill, know how to cook, have all the nice dishes, understand the business of the food business. She's also said that, look, remember, in these times, you have to be professional. Whatever it is you're doing, you have to be organized enough to standardize your processes. Make sure that you are professional in every single thing you do, in your interaction, in your presentation, in your innovation. You have to be professional. And there is a greater call for that even at this time, because that's what is really going to be your differentiator when there's so many people offering very similar services. She's also said do research. I mean, you kind of overemphasize it. Bukola has shared that do research, know your stuff, go online,
Yes, very important.
And learn. Ask Tipsy was a resource she shared with us. Go and learn, go and research. There are free courses available now because of COVID. Learn more about the industry, understand the industry. She said for employers, there are different options you have. You have to really be able to go in there and explore the different options. Most importantly, she said, we are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. So please make sure there is hope, there are opportunities, invest in yourself, understand the industry, and be willing to grow and learn and be your best. Thank you so much. We have a few seconds, Bukola.